Hello everybody, welcome back to Rhonda's Kitchen. The menu for today consists of a low country boil. If you were raised in the South or you've spent any time in the South, you've probably heard of this, and most of you have probably tasted this. This is basically a one-pot dinner. I have already pre-prepared the water, brought it to a boil because that can take quite a bit of time. Basically, you want the biggest pot you can find, and you want to fill it 2/3 full of water, and you want to pour in 1 beer at least. Some people use a lot more. 1 is plenty. Once the water comes to a boil, we are going to put in seafood seasoning. You can buy Old Bay seasoning. You can buy, this is a special mix that's made right here in Georgia that I actually bought at the Renaissance Festival. And basically you want 2 to 3 tablespoons depending on how much seasoning you want in your boil and how many items are going in your boil. So I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of the seasoning, and then you want to add salt. I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of salt. I use this real salt. You can use any kind of salt that you want, about 2 teaspoons. And the very next thing I'm going to put in are the potatoes. The potatoes take the longest to cook. Once I put these in, we'll talk a little bit more about what the boil is. I prefer these little bite-sized potatoes. They cook faster, and you don't really have any prep. You literally just put the whole potatoes in there. You don't have to cut them. You want potatoes. You can use any kind of potatoes except don't use baking potatoes. You want the potatoes to have the skin on them, so they need to have a tender skin, like a new potato or a golden Yukon potato, fingerling potatoes, red potatoes even, but not a tough skin like you would use for baking potatoes. Now, a low country boil typically consists of shrimp and crab with potatoes, corn, onions, spices, and garlic. So the next thing we're going to do is put in some onion so that it can cook along with the potatoes, and put in the garlic. Now I am going to make my low country boil with shrimp and lobster. I'm not a huge crab fan. It's okay. It's not that I don't like it at all, but it's not my favorite thing. So I'm making the boil. It's for me. I'm going to put in lobster. The other thing that goes in a low country boil is sausage. You can use practically any kind of sausage that you like. Kielbasa, smoked sausage, chorizo, andouille, any kind of sausage you like. It should be pre-cooked. Today I am using a combination of chorizo, andouille, and I'm using a beer brat in our low country boil. I bought them fresh, and I cooked them on the grill ahead of time so that we can slice them and throw them into the boil. Right now we want the potatoes to start boiling. I have also pre-prepped lobster and corn, but I did save a couple to show you how to go about doing it. It just takes a little bit of time for the lobster, so I didn't want you to have to sit through all 3 lobster tails. The corn is pretty simple. Get whole ears of corn. If you can buy them in the shucks, out of the shucks, however you want to buy them. I bought these already out of the shuck, and now we're going to rinse them off. And basically, you just want to break them in half. And it really is easier to break them. It's very hard to cut the cobs. Just snap them and make them smaller for the pot. The lobster is a little bit more work. So I've saved one to walk you through the prep process for the lobster. The first thing you want to do is remove any packaging, of course, and they do have these prickly things, so you need to slide out easily. The next thing you want to do is remove the swimmers. These are the swimmers. You don't want them in your way. You don't want them coming off in your water. You need a good pair of kitchen shears. Go down to the base and clip them off. Clip off all of the swimmers. Now I do a lot of things with lobster. I love lobster. I grill them, I boil them, I put them in things. But they're a little testy to work with. These things right here are very, very sharp. They will put a hole in your finger and it will bleed. Make no mistake about that. For today, I want the lobster to loosen a little bit after it's cooked. So I'm just gonna snap the bottom ribs on each one of the bottom ribs. And that will just allow some air to get in through there while it's cooking, allow the water to get in, and it will make it a little bit easier to get the lobster out once we're done. The next thing I want to do is cut the lobster. This is a combination of cutting and breaking. These shells are very hard, so I'm going to cut through the first part of the lobster, like so. Like I said, this isn't easy. And then I'm going to snap it off. You want to be careful how you hold the lobster. It will poke you. I'm going to get about 3 pieces out of this when it's all said and done. And they are a little difficult to work with. Crab is much easier. If you like crab, go with crab. This one came real easy. The final thing I'm going to do is cut off the tail. I like the kitchen shears for working with the lobster. The pressure, you got to have a good pair though, so you get the pressure. Now the lobster is prepared. The rest of this is trash. I'm just going to rinse the lobster off of everything for a minute. And I'm going to check our boil. It's boiling really well. The onions and the potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and put in some garlic. You can use whole garlic, chopped garlic, any kind of garlic. Some form of fresh garlic is better than powder, like garlic powder. But you can use that if you need it. Now we're going to prepare the sausage. The sausage, like I said, needs to be pre-cooked. You don't want it to be crumbly and falling apart. If you buy fresh raw sausage, it'll crumble and it'll fall apart within your boil. That's not what you want. You want solid pieces of sausage. And you want them to be about 1 inch to 2 inches in size. So we're going to just cut the sausage about that size. Again, you can use smoked sausage, kielbasa, chorizo, andouille, any kind of sausage. Chorizo and andouille are a little spicy. If spicy bothers you, go with like the beer brat, or just buy the pre-cooked kielbasa smoked sausage. You're going to cut it about into this size. And then it's ready to go in the boil. The next thing that goes in the boil is the corn. The things that take the longest to cook in the boil are the potatoes and the corn, and you want to make sure they get done. So you always start the potatoes first, let them have a good boil for about 10 minutes or so, and then we will put in the corn. So I have pre-broken, I've done 4 ears of corn. If you're having a lot of people, do more. This is about the minimum you can get away with. A low country boil is typically prepared for lots of people. I usually prepare this once or twice a year, and usually for friends and family. However, with COVID, that's not going to be possible this year. But I didn't want to miss out on my low country boil. It is a quick meal. Those of you that joined me the last time know that the idea behind my kitchen is having lots of different types of cuisines, but on a time budget, if you will. I work all day. I want to have good meals when I come home, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing it. So I'm looking for things that I can prepare in 30 to 45 minutes and have a nice variety of food within my week. I used to spend a lot of time going out to restaurants so I could get different flavors and tastes, and we can't do that anymore. So I've started developing my own versions, but versions that can be done pretty quickly. So this all in will take you about 45 minutes between the prep work, the boiling, that type of thing. It takes about 45 minutes from start to finish. I did do a little pre-prep, like I said, so that you guys didn't have to watch me go through the whole corn and the lobster thing. As you can see, the lobster takes a little bit of a challenge. This is classically crab. If you like crab, get crab. Many low country boils are done with just shrimp, so you don't even have to add anything else. Just shrimp is fine. I do like my low country boil with a sweet white wine. This is one of my favorites. It's a tropical Moscato, and it has a really nice fruity flavor and a sweet flavor about it, which goes really nicely with the spices in the low country boil. So if you like a nice glass of wine, that's a good one, and I think you'll enjoy it. Now that my corn and my potatoes have been boiling, they need to boil for about 10 minutes before you start putting everything else in. We can go ahead and add the sausage in now because that will help it get the flavors through the water. And because it's pre-cooked, it's not going to fall apart. What you don't want to do is add your seafood too early, because once the seafood is pink, then you need to stop the boil. You don't want to overcook your seafood. It will get very tough and it will lose its flavor. So the last thing you want to do is overcook your seafood. Now this boil is already pretty full in the pot here. So you do have to watch how much water is in your pot. I might end up having to take a little bit of water out, we'll see. But taking out is easier than adding because you don't want it to stop boiling once you start cooking. When you can do your shrimp in the boil any way you want. It's preferable to leave some part of the shell on it. You can do the shrimp completely in the shell. I prefer to do it with just the tail. And I prefer a medium to large shrimp in the boil so that it can compete with the crab and the lobster and the other items. If the shrimp is too small, it's gonna like shrivel up. That's the other thing about leaving the tail on. Tailless shrimp will shrivel up just a little bit more than the shrimp with the tail. So this will leave, this will make a very nice sized shrimp. And now this just has to boil for a little bit till the potatoes get tender. I'm actually going to check one of the potatoes. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to get a potato and a spoon, and then I'm just going to stick a knife in it. I did buy little potatoes. They won't take as long as others. These are already almost done. If you want to use red potatoes, Yukon Gold potatoes, something like that, you're going to want to cut them. Don't use whole potatoes. Cut the potatoes if they're about this big in diameter. I would cut them into 4 pieces. If they're bigger, I would cut them in 6 to 8 pieces. You want the flavor in the potatoes and you want the potatoes to be just about bite size so that they're easier to eat. So now that these potatoes are actually almost done, I'm going to put the lobster in next. The lobster will have to cook longer than the shrimp. I'm putting the lobster in the shell. You will remove it from the shell when you go to eat it. Now, the Low Country boil is a one-pot dish. It's a one-pot dinner, basically. You don't need anything else with it. However, if you have a lot of people coming, you're having a big party, a Low Country boil is also a party. People will say, I'm having a Low Country boil, they're having a party where they're serving Low Country boil. I'm going to a Low Country boil. You're going to a party. So if you're having lots of people, you're going to want to have some sides. I recommend coleslaw and either corn muffins, cornbread, hush puppies, something like that. That's traditionally served with the boil. Tonight we're not making anything else, so we're just having the boil. And in the summer, if you're doing a boil in the summer, then I go for lighter desserts. I'll do like a fresh strawberry pie or something of that nature to go with dessert, or just a big bowl of fresh fruit. And that's always a good complement with the boil. So right now, we want the lobster to boil for a little bit. We want it to get to where it's about to turn pink. Once the lobster turns pink and the meat is white, it's pretty much done. It cooks very quickly in a boil if you break it into small pieces. So this lobster is almost done. So now I'm going to put my shrimp in. I'm literally just going to drop the shrimp with the tails into the boil. And then I'm going to use my spoon to push it down in the water. Now you can see my Low Country boil is about to boil over. Once the shrimp all turn a very nice pink, this dinner is done. Traditionally, the way a Low Country boil is served is you will drain all of the water off of the boil. You will cover a table with newspaper, and you will dump the entire boil on the table, and then everybody eats. That is how it is traditionally served. You serve it however you want to. I will remove the water and leave mine in the pot. I'm not dumping on the table. However, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Or you can even get the brown paper and dump it on the brown paper. It works perfectly fine. Newspapers are very clean, in case you didn't know that. If you buy an unused newspaper, it's one of the cleanest forms of paper you can get. So, definitely will not hurt. At this point, our Low Country boil is done and ready to be served. Thank you everybody for joining me again. As you can see, another very quick meal all in one pot. Cleanup is easy, and I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you like my show. Thank you.